is ThiaTheBard.
Wait,
I
hold on.
am.
Hold on.
Oh,
Sorry. Hold on.
stop.
It's
Cool, cool,
okay.
cool. Fine. I'm having problems with my chair.
I'm here if you need me to jump in on any of the shows I actually know.
Riley and Crimson are the best. Okay, cool.
So professional. So profesh. Very professional.
We're professionals. That's
Just.
not the.
Just. Okay, there's that. Alright, good. We got one thing fixed. Let's do another thing.
Welcome to Real
There.
Women of Gaming. We have many technical
Oh,
fun.
all the technical difficulties.
Oh, there we go.
Yay! Look at that beautiful face. Alright.
All right. I see and hear myself, so I'm now going to mute and no longer look at that. So profesh. Okay, cool. So I'm guessing we can hear everything here.
Yep.
All right. Then let's do this. Hi, everyone. My name is ThiaTheBard. Welcome to TogetherCon. This is our first panel. For those of you who are watching on Twitch, if you don't know, we have an online free Discord convention, so it's safe and economical, really. And that's going to be happening all weekend. I'm kicking us off with a panel about queer representation in anime. But first, I guess I should do a little bit of housekeeping, and talk about myself. My least favorite thing to do. I am a content creator and content writer, more so, and an admin here for Real Women of Gaming. You also can catch me on our Saturday games. Ooh, I wrote it down because I always mess this one up. And that is Tankards, Tales, and Treasures. And our Sunday TTPRPGs, which are Malhaven and That Which Can Eternal Lie. Those are at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you like horror movies, you can also listen to myself and my friend Pat on anywhere that you get podcasts. And we have a podcast called Those Meddling Kids where we watch horror movies and we talk to you. So we're your friends watching horror movies with you. It's super fun. And if you want a little taste of that chaos, we will be here in the panel room tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for those of you who are at the con. And we will be watching a movie and kind of mystery science theater talking over it. It's going to be fun. It's a good time. For those of you who are watching on Twitch and who haven't come to the convention yet, this is my formal invitation to you. Come hang out with us. It's a great time. And it might be a little bit easier for me to interact with you if you are here as well. All right. And if you have any questions or comments, please put it in the panel room chat, my friends. And I will have a questions section at the end. So, yeah, let's talk about queer representation in anime. And how excited I am that I've been able to find so many of them. I haven't seen a whole lot of these yet, but I now have a list full of things in my queue that I'm going to get to do and watch when TogetherCon's over. So I am really, really stoked for that. I'm going to put my glasses on because I do have some notes. So hopefully my evil glare won't be too bad. All right, so I think something that we need to talk about just a little bit very quickly first is the fact that in Japan, they don't have any laws against homosexuality, and there really isn't a ban or a censorship on it. However, the government there does not recognize gay marriage. So it's tough to have anime where it's like, oh, hey, here's our big, beautiful wedding. for our main characters. That's not a thing for right now. However, they did get rid of a lot of laws against homosexuality and censorship far earlier than we did here in America. So, which is probably why you're going to hear of some older anime on here, which is really cool. And what we can just continue to hope. Oh, by the way, I'm so sorry, I forgot. My pronouns are she, they, so you can use she, her, and hers, or they, them, theirs. I do really like they, them, theirs. And I'm an asexual. Hi! But let's get into some anime after we take a sip of coffee. I just realized I'm talking very quickly. I'm so sorry, everybody. Zoom, zoom, juice. All right. So, I needed, era in Japan was hella gay. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome.
Good morning.
Oh, could you please mute yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah, and if you could turn off your camera, it's just a little distracting for me while I'm running the panel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But please do feel free to talk and chat in the panel chat room, everybody. Give me your hot takes, give me your questions, and we'll be getting back to it. I see you are. Yeah, it's popping up, Crimson. History of Japan. Yeah. Thanks. I'm so stoked to have you all here. I hope you're having a fun time so far with us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a short list of some anime, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of them, and then we can chat a little bit more about queer representation in anime. If there are some that I didn't find, you can tell me. So I do definitely want to have you all coming back and forth and talking and interacting just that way, because I get distracted very easily. So it's best if it's just there. All right. Cool beans. So the first one we're going to talk about is one of my favorite anime of all time. You're so proud of me. And that is Yuri on Ice. It's just a chef's kiss of an anime, y'all. It's so good. It has everything. And it's actually one of the few sports anime that I watch. I've tried. And that one it's my favorite. And I don't know if it's just because I kind of kid Yuri very hard. Okay, panic. Yes, we adore Yuri. So Yuri on Ice is a beautiful story about a figure skater who really just beefs it at the start of his career. He goes home and is like, I'm not going to do this anymore. But then his crush, his favorite skater, comes and is like, I'm going into retirement so that I can train this man. And it's awkward and it's beautiful, and there is just this really great storyline that happens where you see these two people growing and really confronting problems in a healthy way that they have with each other in their relationship as a coach, and then in their relationship that they have just outside of the rink. The other characters are really interesting. The music is phenomenal. Honestly, you could watch this anime just for like the costuming and the animation itself. It's so good. They put so much work into it, and it really, really shows. So that is the end of my gushing about Yuri on Ice for now. But it is so good. And it is one of my recommendations. And that is why, yes, Born to Make History is one of those songs that gets stuck in your head all the time. It is actually my song that I have for all of my alarms, so that when I'm waking up very early in the morning and do not want to be waking up very early in the morning, at least I'm like, we're born to make history. I'm like, I'm just gonna make Victor proud. Gonna make him proud. So Bloom Into You, we're now gonna get into a bunch of anime that I don't know as well. But that's fun because it means that I'm gonna get to learn them and that we're all gonna get to learn about them too. So if you know a little bit more about one of them, chime in. And the first one's called Bloom Into You. And so this is 2 females. So that's fun because a lot of these actually end up being male stories. And so these girls are in what the equivalent of high school is for us and in America. And they start turning down dates. And the one actually goes to talk to the other about it. And they bond over the fact that they're turning down these dates from these guys and that how that's not really what they want right now. And eventually one of them, welcome to the Queer Representation in Anime panel. Please mute yourself just because I'll get distracted if I hear noises. But definitely feel free to talk and bounce ideas and things like that back at me from the panel room chat. I'm so happy to have you here. We are moving down the list right now. We're talking about Bloom Into You, and so the 2 girls, you know, they're turning down all these guys. Thea is a raccoon. They're turning down all these guys, and they become friends through it. And then one of them actually confesses that she's falling in love with the other student. So insert giggles and like glitter everywhere as we get excited about romance. So I didn't look up the ends of a lot of these ones that I haven't seen yet because I want to not get too spoiled. Number 6. This is a very different kind of anime, and I'm kind of stoked to see it. This is a dystopian anime, so it's set in kind of like a sci-fi future where everything has just gone terribly wrong. And of course, your raccoon, your cryptid here, loves anything where the world has gone terribly wrong and we're just trying to build ourselves back up. So this is an anime that centers around 2 male protagonists. One comes from like the upper crust, and the other one, I think he's even just called Rat. Like he's essentially a prisoner. And they end up teaming up to work together. And as they confront not only all of the things that are happening to them because of the hostile world that they live in, they also grow closer as friends and as something more. But then there's all those societal things that are going to be coming down onto them. Like in this dystopian future, they kind of want everybody to just fall in line. So that's not going to be great for them. But they're bucking the system anyway, so who cares? And I am a sucker for a story like that. So again, that was an anime called Number 6. And apparently also, as the writers did a fantastic job with that anime and the manga of, you think it might be on Netflix? Good. Thank you, Wicked. Of making sure that this relationship and this romance was written in an integral way to the rest of the story. Like, it's not just, oh, wow, hey, we defeated the bad guy, and I'm just out of the blue in love with you, which does sometimes happen in anime. It can feel kind of rushed and kind of weird, and that's even with heterosexual romances, you know? Like, you'll have 2 characters who are just kind of like, oh, naturally we'll fall in love and be married in the morning. And that is something that I think anime is now very much trying to steer away from. There's a lot more build-up that's happening, which is nice because it makes more sense that way. By the way, everyone, don't forget to hydrate with like real things other than just tea. What do we do now? Of course we get married. It felt that way on Legend of Korra. I didn't get to finish Legend of Korra yet. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what happened. I think I moved and I just haven't been able to go back to it yet. I think that's something that happens with a lot of romance, particularly in like, it's just kind of a weird. You would have loved to see that fleshed out better. Yeah, that's understandable. There were quite a few couples where I sit there and I'm just like, but why? But why? Trauma bonding? But is trauma bonding really a good reason for you to get married? The world may never know. So our next story is called Wandering Sun, and this one's really cool. I'm really, really stoked about the idea behind this one. Again, all of these started off as manga and then have become either television, like a series, or there's one movie. Consider all the avatars anime. I wish that I could, because I would really like to do a review on them. So Wandering Sun is about two kids who meet in elementary school and then are growing up together and becoming friends. Now, the twist on it is that they are both transgender. So one is born female and wants to transition to male, and then one is, ooh, he all just got lost in something else. Hold on. I've seen people yell that when they say that. Oh, Avatar, yeah. And then the other is born male and wants to transition female. So what you're getting is an anime about two people who are growing up together and growing into their identities and who have each other as a support system, which I think is really interesting and really important. Because all right, be nice, everybody. Don't fight too hard. I don't have time to clean up this panel room before the next panel. So, clean up your own blood as you fight over Avatar. I think it's important that we have stories about younger transgender folks who are, oh, we lost somebody, who are learning and growing and being able to make these decisions and to have other young people with them to help them as they go. It's not a hill you want to die on. Good for you. Yeah. Oh. But I'm hoping that we will get more of those stories. For all ages, really, because it's important to have them. All right, so now Revolutionary Girl, Utena. This is an older anime, and it is beloved by so many people within the queer community, which is interesting because if you look at it, there's, yes! There's never like any declaration of love between like the two main female characters or anything like that. So when you're looking at this anime, you're like, well then, okay, Thea, why is it queer? This anime is just... Is it on Crunchyroll? Thank you, Wicked. It is, it's just queer in its roots. Yes, girls with swords. Utena decides that she doesn't want to be a princess who gets saved. She wants to be the one who's doing the saving. So in her society, that's not really how it works. And she dresses as a prince. She dresses in male clothing. and goes out with her sword to save other people. Which at that time when this came out was a really big thing for gender expression and gender exploration. And we were very lucky to be getting that. So while you're not getting this big declaration of love, it is something that was able to take the building blocks and give us a foundation to build other anime, other manga on. And I think that's why it's so beloved by the queer community, is that for a lot of us, this is one of those first anime where you're sitting there and you're like, oh, wow, hey, yeah, no, I can dress how I like, I can be more masculine, or whatever that means to me. Subbed and dubbed on Crunchyroll. Nice. Thank you, Wicked. Hey, welcome. So it's such an important anime, even though we don't get that big moment. Instead, I think it's just got tons of moments throughout the story and just interwoven through the story itself that makes it so inherently queer and so important to so many of us. And that's good. And that's all right, because we also have to look at anime like we do every other bit of media that we're consuming that is, here's where we started because of where we could be starting, and now here's where we are. And we wouldn't be where we are without that anime. Also, it's just really fun. It's a really fun, cool anime. So I would highly recommend watching that one. All right. Riley, it's your favorite. It's Given. Given. Yeah, it's not too long either. Was Utina. Riley, do you want to talk about Given?
Let's get it. Given is about four men. They're in a band in school. The two main people are Mafayu and Haruki, I think. Yeah. Mafayu's had a hard past, which will be explained in the show, because that's just spoilers if I give you that. But he's just learning the guitar.
On Crunchyroll. Yes, Given's also on Crunchyroll. Thank you, Wicked. Go ahead,
But
Riley.
he's mainly like he's a vocalist, but he's learning the guitar as well. And it's like a really big story, and it's more dark than the happier ones like Yuri that I've watched. It's really good and touches a lot of points.
Nice. I like the fact that it starts off with like them having a chance encounter on a stairwell.
Yeah, where they learn. Teach me.
Teach me. Yeah. I like anything where you have a story where people are learning and growing together. It has over 400 5-star reviews. Yeah, this one's big. Given's huge. A lot of folks really love Given. I'm excited to watch it. It's perfection. But like I was saying, I really enjoy any story, not even just an anime, where you have people that grow together and who learn from each other. Because life is tough. And life's going to be tough. Like Riley said, this one's a little bit darker. No matter what your gender identity is and your sexual orientation and where you are in your path in life, there's always going to be some aspect of it that is difficult. So I think it's really important to have stories where you have characters who are on these paths and fighting and trying to figure out themselves and trying to figure out their stuff, and who help each other to grow and who help each other to get better and to become more themselves. And, you know, like, this one's so cool because then you also have a metaphor for them getting better with music and growing through music and things like that. But so no, it's not just music, it's them and it's the whole band, but especially like these two main characters. So I'm really, really excited to start this one. Riley suggested it and I just haven't gotten to watch it yet, but it's probably going to be one of my next big binges. You'll rewatch it with me? Okay, good. Know what we're doing this week. So that was given. Princess Knight. So this is another older anime. This is a much... Crimson 2. Cool. Yeah. Let's all get together. Let's all get together and just watch Given. Why not? Who needs to work? Who needs to do things? Let's feel all the feelings. Let's feel things. Just take a moment and feel things. Princess Knight. That was your first princess. Yep. Your first anime? Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Yeah, I haven't seen this one, and I'm really surprised that I haven't because it's... You're not old. Stop. I am also an older anime fan. I've been watching since... You're going to be 50? Congratulations! Oh my gosh, and happy early birthday! Princess Knight's also on Crunchy. Everything's on Crunchyroll. Yeah, I have to look on Funimation and see what's on there. But happy early birthday! Ah, that's wonderful. But Princess Knight is another one of it's another older anime that really kind of sets up our foundation for our animes now. And Speed Racer, yeah, it does kind of have that look. I was looking at the art. But in this one, it also, again, is playing with the idea of gender and gender identity and, like, gender roles. We have another princess who disguises herself as a prince in order to keep an evil duke from taking the throne. So that's really cool. And I've seen, like, we were just talking about, like, the anime art. It's so cool. I really want to watch it. I really enjoy looking and watching, like, older anime. And then he was obsessed with her when you were a girl. I believe that, Miss Alice Sarah. I believe it. She was really cool looking. It's on Funimation too. Nice. That's on the list. But like, it was one of the early signs I might not be 100% straight. Yes. Nice. We're going to talk about one of mine coming up. But like I said, this one, you know, I like the animation style for it. I like, since I also grew up watching that kind of style, I enjoy going back and watching things like Speed Racer. And I really do want to watch this one because I find that style very comforting. I know that there are some folks who are like, ooh, it's clunky. I don't like it. And I understand. Like, we have come so far with the way that animation is in anime. Like, we were talking about Yuri on Ice earlier. The fluidity that anime has, but I don't think that we need to look back on older anime and be like, oh, it's awful. You know, I think it's just kind of fun to be able to be like, look at where we were, look at where we are now, and, like, in between. It's just been a really great time to be alive as an anime fan and to be able to look at the art and compare and contrast. I mean, and we get to do the same thing with the stories now, you know, but you don't get to have it without people learning and building with stories like Princess Knight. So you have Princess Knight where all of a sudden there's this female-coded character who now is choosing not to be that way and is like, I'm going to be putting on armor and I'm going to dress like this and I'm going to stop the Duke by myself and I don't need a prince to do it for me. And I love that. Love it. So good. And it's so important. I think that sometimes we forget just how much gender expression is a part of our community and a part of our identities, and how much using that in a storyline also makes the story inherently queer. So, yay. Definitely look that one up. Like I said, it's on Crunchyroll and on Funimation. So the next one is a little bit different. It's a movie. You are inherently queer, Crimson. And I love it. This one is called Stranger by the Shore. And it's a movie. I'm really looking forward to watching it. I know I keep saying that about like everything on this list, but I mean it. This is two men who meet on a beach, like then they're young men. And it's interesting because they're both out already when we start this movie. So the one has had difficulty with his family, and he's a novelist, so he's kind of the more experienced person. But he has to go, and he has to move and go do his work. And he's like, I'll come back, and I'll see you again. Then 3 years later, he comes back, and could there be romance? God, I hope so. I believe so. Haven't seen this one yet. But again, that's so fun when you have something that's very real, like the fact that you're going to have to move because you don't have familial support to be able to go, and Stranger by the Shore is not on Crunchy. It might be on Funimation. We'll have to look it up. Sometimes you have to leave your biological family and you have to go out into the world, and you have friends that you make, you have relationships that you make, and it doesn't make you bad. It's just it is on Funimation. Hey, it is just a part of so many people's story. And I know that there's a lot of us within the queer community who were like, we don't want to have sad stories. And I understand. I get that. Because it's difficult to see queer people just in the role of like a suffering queer person who's like being punished or being hurt because of who they are. But the reality of the situation is that if we want to really tell queer stories, we also have to tell ones that start off sad. Or we have to talk about the fact that there are going to be parents who aren't going to want to support their children, and or there are going to be some of us who are going to be like, I can't have you in my life right now so that I can continue to grow and become my best self. Hey there, Shadow. Welcome. Okay, bye. And that's okay. It's okay to watch somebody build themselves up and find themselves. And it seems like this person already kind of has, and is figuring it out. So I do. I think that's good. And I understand. I understand why there are a lot of people who are like, no, we don't want that. We don't want queer suffering, because those were the stories that were told for so long. But it's also important that everybody does get a seat at the table and is represented in these stories. So I'm glad. I'm glad that this anime is showing two people who have different familial status and okay, and who are coming back together after 3 years to be like, hey, here's where I've changed, but I still have feelings for you. I think that's going to be really cute, and I'm excited to watch that. And I'm sure that you will hear about it in a review. Okay, so my last two are ones that I really enjoy. And the next one, I know a lot of people kind of go back and forth on it, and I totally understand. And those are valid concerns and valid things to say. It's Ouran High School Host Club. Now, I love Ouran High School Host Club. Again, I think we have this beautiful story where Haruhi is just like, I don't really care how I dress, and that is an important part of our conversation about gender and about identity. But I do also know that the creator has never come out and said anything about Haruhi's actual gender identity. So that show's delightfully silly, and I love how it pokes fun at all the tropes. All the tropes, yeah. So Ouran High School Host Club is about a character named Haruhi Fujioka who is not very well off financially and gets into this super rich, super fancy school through hard work and applying for scholarships, and knocks a vase over in a music room where a host club happens to be. So now a host club are these teenage boys who have a lot of money in this school and who are kind of bored and who want to have a club where all of the rich and famous students get to kind of play. But so it's them putting on like a fantasy and all these amazing costumes and food and tea for the female students to come in, and then the female students pay for like extra things and for sessions with the hosts, who then are playing very specific parts in tropes from like dating sim games that were popular and these manga that were also very popular at the time. Hi there.
Oops.
If you could please just mute, I'm super happy to have you here, and then you can totally type in the panel room chat. We are talking about Ouran High School Host Club right now. Oh no, you didn't have to leave. But so Haruhi ends up kind of being indentured to the hosts and working for them because they break this really important vase. But the show, of course, evolves from that, and there's a whole lot of shenanigans. And it's just really funny, and it's really silly, and it's not everybody's cup of tea. Some of the terminology that is used is very outdated. And so I understand why there are people who are very... I enjoy it too, yeah, who get really upset with it, even if it was terms that people were using back then. Haruhi's dad is... Dad. She calls them her dad is it's complicated. I think now if they were to make it, he would be transgender, but they like to wear dresses and they work at a call center, and very much live as a woman. But the terminology gets really weird, and again, I think that has a lot to do with when the manga was made and the subsequent anime that's made from the manga. So I can understand why there are a lot of people who don't like Oron and don't really want it on these kinds of lists of queer anime. But the point is that it is there, and that it's good for conversation and to say, hey, here's where some of it is cringy. Yeah. But it is also that man. Yeah, fuck the manager. I think that there's also an all-girls school that comes off as like, very much the trope of like, like angry, aggressive lesbians. But I also think that they're really cool. Like they're very accomplished, and it's clear that Haruhi would do very well with them. There's a lot going on in that anime that I think is important because it created discussions and it created spaces where we could be bringing these themes in and making space for anime like Yuri and Forgiven, where all of a sudden now we can have this in a high school setting, and it's not a dystopian, it's not a fantasy. This is just a high school. I mean, yeah, it seems silly because they're all super rich and they do kind of weird stuff, but they're kids. They're just kids who have people in their families who don't fit binary norms and gender norms, and then where does that leave them? And it talks a lot about relationships and coming into your own and becoming your own person, which I think is important for not only just like teenagers to be seeing, but everybody. It is silly and it's a romp, and if you haven't seen it yet, I would highly recommend it. And my last one is going to be Sailor Moon, specifically Sailor Moon Crystal. So Sailor Moon is a manga, and the first run of anime happened in the early mid-90s. And there was this really frustrating thing that America was doing at that time. Sailor Star, yep. Where when we were getting anime here in America, we then would Americanize it. So for this first run, they changed names, they changed a lot of dialogue, and every time it's going to be a different dialogue with a dub. Because the lines have to fit the way the mouth is moving, and there's always going to be some transition. Sailor Crystal is on Crunchy. Yeah, it's also on Netflix. So I'm specifically going to Crystal for this because a lot of then the queer themes also were kind of taken out of that first run, which is sad. Like, it's kind of there. And like me growing up, I was just like, oh yeah, no. That's not straight. I didn't know that back then. And me watching these characters, I was like, yeah, wow, I kind of want a fun relationship like that. So this is my Thea was probably not 100% straight anime. And it's also my first anime. But Crystal, which is the newer remake of everything, is far more faithful to the manga. So there are characters there who are not strictly following the binary and who are in homosexual relationships that are healthy and beautiful. And there are moments where you're just sitting there and you're like, oh yeah, that's the main character being like, I hope this doesn't awaken anything in me. Kissing scenes and all kinds of really neat stuff. And the great part is that a lot of these characters are Sailor Senshi. So they are We love healthy relationships. Yes, we do. Again, so these are high school students, and Usagi is just a regular girl. She likes to eat. She likes to play video games. She is very romantic, and she's kind of clumsy and a crybaby. And then she meets a talking cat that she helps save and is transformed into Sailor Moon, who is a pretty guardian. But she also is very much we're going to fight for the power of love and friendship. So a lot of her relationships come off as like, kind of queer. And she's very open about being like, that is one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen, and like looking at them the same way she looks at like male characters. And what happens is in season 2 and then later seasons and later manga, we get characters who are very out. And there's never any, oh no, you shouldn't be like that. There's like, oh, I didn't see that coming moments from Usagi, because she doesn't see a lot of that coming. But it's never, you shouldn't be this way. And I think that that's really important, because now this is giving us, again, high school students, and yes, there is a fantasy element to it, and there's fighting and all this cool stuff, but it's high school students who are accepting and who are learning and who are growing, and who have people around them who are helping them do that, and who they aren't being like, oh no, blah, So it's good. It's good. Sailor Moon Crystal is where we're going to stop with the list. And what I'm going to say is that I'm happy now that we're getting a lot more queer representation in anime. As we talked about, there is older anime that has helped us get this far. And it's important. It's important to have this kind of representation. Not only because it helps with your self-worth and your self-esteem, it also helps folks not feel alone. And for some of us, these are the first things that we're going to see, is an anime, a TV show, a movie, reading a manga. So it's important while we're developing and growing, and then continuing to do that as we get older, to have ourselves and to have that mirror to be like, oh, okay, that's like me. That's like me. I can be like that, and that's fine, because that character is like that. The other important thing is that these stories should be the norm. It shouldn't be like, oh, wow, there's a queer story. Like, it should be, yeah, hey, here's a romantic story, and it just happens to be this character, this character, this character, that character. You know what I mean? And the only way that we are going to continue to have that happening is by encouraging media where this is the norm. We need so much more of this, and we need to celebrate what we have so that people know that we want it and that we want more, and that it's safe for them and financially safe for them, that they're going to be able to make more of it. So giving things boosts, giving things ratings, giving it views by watching, rewatching, it's important. And yeah, we shouldn't have to do a whole lot of work to be able to get representation. But unfortunately, as it has been with queer people, we're going to have to do more work to get representation. And I very much believe that we're going to get there, and that these stories are just going to end up being love stories. But it's partially up to us now to make sure that that continues to happen, and to be able to celebrate queer anime, to cry with queer anime, to fight with queer anime. It's cool. It's cool that we get to do that, and it's cool that we're in this part now where we can see where we've been, and we're at this threshold where things are becoming more normal, and we're getting more and more of these stories. It's just neat. It's neat to be living in a moment with movement, if that makes sense. But yeah, so we have a few more minutes left. So does anybody have any comments or questions, concerns, something that I missed that you think that we should geek out about before we say adieu? You have a comment. Shocked, Riley. What is your comment? Kissing cousins. You're amazing. Oh, you're amazing. That's all. Oh, gosh. You, round of applause, Crimson. Oh, gosh. Stop. I'm going to start making it so that it's not comments. It's just questions. I'm always going to shout out a Naruto side character. Oh, cool. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. I have not started Naruto yet, and I feel like I need to, but I also feel like I just need so much time. Not Naruto. 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 Thank you. Naruto. Okay, cool. Thank you, Miss Alicera. I am dyslexic, so sometimes I look at words quickly, and it turns into just a word that I know, and I say it with all the confidence in my whole chest. mm. So, RJ was wondering, I know this is about representation in anime, but do you think the push for queer acceptance in Japan is going to help to bring more queer characters in anime for future generations? Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I mean, and that was something that we talked about a little bit earlier. Naruto. Okay, I'm going to have to look this anime up. I know y'all were talking about this in Wicked's channel, so I'm definitely going to have to look it up. I think that it all comes together and it all plays off of each other. We're going to help society accept queer people by having these stories normalized. And these stories also become normalized by having society accept queer people more. So they kind of go hand in hand. And I know that probably sounds weird because if you need one to do the other, then how are we going to do it? I don't know. I guess it's just like a big circle. Oh no, you're good, RJ. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so Japan has come really far with how they are viewing queer people. Like, there's no real censorship about queer people. There aren't any laws against it. It does get kind of weird. I was trying to look up some of the laws last night about for folks who would like to transition. I think you have to have surgery and able to be recognized as that gender. And unfortunately, I think the big hurdle is that same-sex marriage, queer marriage, is not recognized in Japan. So then that makes it more difficult to be like, here's our definite big white wedding ending, you know. So, but it does help that they're able to have these relationships and that they are in anime. And there's a lot more in the manga, actually. We're getting slowly more and more things brought into anime. And I think it's because it's a little bit more of a gamble financially to be like, yeah, here, let's make this story and put a whole bunch of money into artists and to voice actors and to music than it is to be like, okay, here's my team and I'm going to write everything. I have my illustrators, or sometimes I'm also the illustrator. And here we go. But yeah, we're going to wrap it up. And a history of queerness in Japan is fascinating. The warring states and Edo. Yep. Thank you all for coming to the panel. So I hope that you will stick around. The next panel is Game Mastering a Beginner's Guide. So this is great for new game masters. If you're not really into D&D and TTRPGs, there is a ton of other stuff happening. We have horror movies going on right now. We have great vendors. And we're also going to be around just to talk and communicate. So feel free to ask me any more questions throughout or to keep talking. Thank you so much for that recommendation, Ms. Alicera. I cannot wait to go see that, and I can't wait to start watching this anime. I am so absurdly grateful that I got to hang out with you all for this first panel. I will be back later with some horror movies for those meddling kids, and I'll be hanging out the whole weekend. So, again, thank you all. I'm going to wrap it up. Please hang out, and always keep sparkling. I love you. Okay,